This is the introduction to Module 9, How to Please a Woman and Become a Great Lover. Jeffrey says, how do you please a woman in bed anyway? I want to become a great lover, but I honestly don't know how yet. I'm young and I don't have much experience yet. And Pierre says, I'm middle-aged and recently divorced. Sex was never a strong area of my marriage. I want to learn what I need to know so that it'll be different next time. What do women want in bed anyway? It's so great that you're asking this question. It shows that you understand something very, very basic. Being a skillful lover is not something automatic. It's not something you're born with. It's something you learn. If everyone asked this question early in their sexual life, a lot of misery could be avoided, and a lot more pleasure would be the norm. The days when looking good and being responsive were the only rules that a woman had in sex, well, happily those days are gone for most of us. Learning to be a great lover does start with asking some questions. There's no way to find out about the experience and wishes of someone who has a very different kind of body and background except to ask them. This module focuses on how to please a woman. So it starts with words and how important words and emotional closeness are to female sexual arousal and pleasure. Not to say that many men don't feel this way as well, but focusing on women, I would say that what you say is almost as important, or maybe more so, than what you do. And then I go on to discuss particular techniques, how to arouse a woman, how to help her reach orgasm. It's not as obvious as some people think. So if this is something you care about, press the select button below and the video will play. Afterward, you'll be able to download the action steps, things you can do today, and also the resources, which means sources of even more information. We're going back to, afterward, you'll be able to download the action steps, things you can do today, and also the resources, which will give you lots of keys to more information.
Yes, my phone is buzzing.
Welcome to Module 9, How to Be a Great Lover and What Do Women Really Want in Bed? Millions of men want to know the answer to this question, but in a way, it's a new question. It hasn't been so long since the assumption was made that whatever men enjoyed sexually was going to work for women too. Of course, that is not necessarily so. Here are a few principles which don't seem widely known. First, most women care so very much about what you say. It's not compliments they want so much as your honest emotions about her and about yourself, and maybe about your lovemaking. For many men, it feels quite risky to express those inner feelings, especially when they feel vulnerable. Saying things like, I'm afraid I don't know how to please you, or I've been feeling very depressed lately, or even I've been worried about our relationship. Any heartfelt statement helps her to open up and allow her sexual arousal to emerge. This is just how females are built, most of them, most of the time. Emotions open the door, and words are often the key. For many women, sex is first of all about emotional connection. So emotions play a huge role in every part of female sexual arousal. Interest, arousal, pleasure, orgasm, and feeling good about the experience afterward. The ability many men have to enjoy sex with a woman they might not even know or like is foreign to most women. It's important to understand that without a feeling of emotional closeness, many women just go through the motions of sex, trying but not actually feeling what both of you want her to feel. Second principle, being a great lover starts with emotional skills. Learning how to talk to a woman, how to share your feelings, so that the two of you can feel emotionally close. Many men think being a great lover is all about technique. But you may be an expert in clitoral stimulation, but if you can't express your feelings, you're not going to have the most responsive partner that you could have. Some men assume that whatever was pleasing to a previous partner will be pleasing to this one as well. And more consistently, some believe that what was pleasing to this partner yesterday will be pleasing to her today. Unfortunately, perhaps, neither one is the case. Some men think that once they've learned the best way to touch this particular woman's body, they'll be able to turn her on and have a great time with her. But it just doesn't work that way. So the first part of foreplay is foretalk. Talking before lovemaking. What does sharing your feelings in the moment look like? It's very easy in a way, to talk about at least, to name it, but it's quite difficult for a lot of people to actually do. So here's one way to think about it. You ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And then you share that with your partner. Honest feelings in the moment could be almost anything, not just the nice ones. You could say, I'm feeling nervous right now. Maybe you'll reject me. I'm still thinking about that argument we had last night. I'm not over it yet. I'm so horny right now, I can't stand it. Or, I'm not really sure if I'm in the mood for sex, but I'd like to try to get in the mood. Or, my boss got mad at me yesterday and I'm afraid I might lose my job. Or, you're so beautiful to me, I just want to tear your clothes off. Or, I think the baby's waking up and I'm going to be disappointed again. Any of those count as expressing your feelings. It's what's real to you in the moment is what she needs to hear. Any of those that I just mentioned and many others can start the conversation. Hopefully the woman then opens up too and responds in a loving way. If she's upset instead, that needs to be discussed. If the sexual communication skills both of you have are not well developed yet, you might find yourselves arguing instead of touching. If you practice though, you can learn to say almost anything in a loving way, even when you're upset. So now we go to technique, tender touching. Of course, becoming skillful in the way you touch is very important. Learn to be a great kisser. Practice, practice, practice. Communication continues here. The only way to really know what this particular woman likes and doesn't like is to ask her, do you like French kissing, tongue kissing? With kissing, start slow, soft, closed mouth kisses, and continue to accelerate things based on her response. And now the famous foreplay. I've said in other modules that foreplay is not one of my favorite words because it suggests that it's not real sex, but it is. But what I will say about foreplay is that it's the name given to what used to be called making out, kissing and stroking, touching the sexual parts of each other's body. It can be something both genders learn to love. It can be something you do before intercourse, or it can be something you enjoy for itself without adding anything. Touching the breasts is very, very important to most, not all, women. Some women don't like their breasts touched. Go figure. One thing many women complain about, though, is that he goes for my breasts right away without any buildup. The message here is that 5 minutes of kissing and then aiming for her breasts is not what most women want. Breasts are very important emotionally to most women. Feeling that you like her breasts is important, and feeling that you understand the specialness of this particular form of intimacy affects her too. Tease her gently and take your time about it. Touch her with her clothes still on at first. Touch the area around her breast, slowly getting closer to the whole breast. Then very slowly caress and gently squeeze one breast at a time, then both. Remove the clothing over her breast very slowly and tease her a long time before you actually touch the nipple. Caress it, gently squeeze it, and suck on it if she is responding well. Not every woman has extremely sensitive nipples, but many do. Find out by asking or by experimenting, or both. Some women are so sensitive that they reach orgasm or come close from nipple stimulation alone. For others, they're lukewarm. Women are confusing. Now we're getting to the genitals. You learn by experience with a particular woman how and when she likes her genitals touched. Traditionally, that comes after breast stimulation, but you don't have to be traditional. Becoming familiar with the terms vulva means the whole genital area, including the outer and inner lips, the entrance to the vagina, and most important, the clitoris, as shown on this graphic. A teenager I know who had a sex education class at school recently told me that the clitoris was never mentioned. That's about the same as describing male sexual response without ever mentioning the penis. The clitoris, of course, is the counterpart of the penis in females. While only a tiny pearl appears on the outside of a woman's body, much of the structure is buried inside. Great lovers know how to touch the clitoris. You might say they become experts in clitoral pleasuring. The exact nature of how she wants to be touched is unique to every woman, and sometimes it changes from one time to another. Some women like gentle stroking with one or more fingers best. Others like oral licking and sucking of the clitoris. Others like a position in intercourse, such as the woman above position, where she can control the amount and the placement of pressure on her clitoris. Women who reach orgasm during intercourse, which is only about a third of them, usually do it this way. They've usually learned this kind of technique. I hope it's obvious by now that intercourse is not equal to sex. Intercourse does not have to be part of every sexual experience. That's the old way, when sex was designed for making babies. And it works perfectly for that. For many reasons, though, I think it's a big mistake to think that way now. There will be times when intercourse isn't practical or isn't what you both want. On those occasions, you can try one of 1,000 other experiments. Be sure to use lubricant. Many women prefer lubricated fingers on the clitoris. Ask her about this. She might not know until you experiment. Definitely use lubricant anytime you're about to put anything, including your fingers, or especially your penis, inside the vagina. If there's a huge amount of natural moisture, this won't be necessary. But in most cases, adding lubrication is a plus, which protects both of you, or at least the woman, from pain and makes entry and thrusting easier. Some people falsely believe that a woman's vagina will always get wet when she's ready for intercourse. This is a myth. Some do, some don't. Wetness can be influenced by hormones, the time of the menstrual cycle, and many other factors. Have a safe lubricant that you like on your bedside table. Safe refers to the kind of birth control you may use. If you're using condoms or a diaphragm, a water-based lubricant is essential. If they're not water-based, lubricants can cause latex devices to break. So two of the safe ones are KY jelly and Aster Glide, and there are many others. Here's something important. You might not have thought of this. Keep your eyes open if you want to be a great lover. You don't have to, and it's not traditional. Hollywood has taught us to, when the lips meet, the eyes close. But since we're talking about being a great lover, I'm saying that keeping an eye contact adds something important for many couples. And it makes you feel very, very vulnerable in many cases, and that's a good thing. If you really trust each other, it can be really beautiful to stay in eye contact while your bodies are in contact. One way to look at this idea is that if you want to have an individual experience, keep your eyes closed. If you want to have a shared experience, keep them open as much as you can and stay in eye contact a lot of the time, especially during orgasm. You may be surprised at the difference this makes. I've learned to my surprise that many couples who've been together for years have never looked in each other's eyes during orgasm. So I want them all to try it and see how they feel about it. Taking time afterward is important. Enjoying sexual intimacy together can bring about the times when a couple feels the closest. Don't waste this by picking up your phone or turning on the TV the minute you're done. Maybe you'll want to say something about how the experience was for you, and then ask your partner how it was for him or her. Not in a report card way, was I good this time? Not that, but by trying to find out in a loving way, what was your partner's experience? You could say, did you like it when I did that new thing? You could say, whatever is in your heart. Both lovers should be aware that this is a very vulnerable time. It's definitely not a time to criticize, complain, or bring up some area of conflict. Say sweet things, especially true sweet things. It's hard to improve on I love you. Now we come to the action steps that are part of all these modules. First of all, so these are things that you can do today. You can start today or tonight working on these. Practice the verbal skills first is what I recommend. Talk with your partner about subjects related to lovemaking. If you don't have a partner now, seek out a sister, a female friend, or even a counselor who will be willing to discuss sexual issues with you. If it makes things easier, try to get her to do most of the talking by asking her to describe what she thinks are the qualities of a good lover. Secondly, practice emotional skills by talking with someone significant about your feelings. An easy way to begin is to make an agreement with that person to discuss your true feelings in the moment. Then you just ask yourself, what am I feeling? Answer out loud, knowing that there's no right or wrong answer. Encourage your partner to do the same and see where it leads. You may be surprised. This is part of creating a no-fail zone between couples. The third step is practice tender touching mixed with verbal feedback. It's handy to take turns in this. You might do 10-minute segments. One of you receives by saying what you'd like, maybe a back rub or something more intimate. The receiver provides gentle, honest feedback while the giver is doing the touching. And then afterward you switch. After you've both had a turn at receiving, cuddle up and enjoy the closeness. Enjoy yourselves and make the most of this opportunity to learn to be closer and have more joy and delight than you've ever shared before.